Hello. It is I, Gary, from Google Search. And you're hearing me today because we have yet another episode of Search Off the Record. You know, the podcast from the Google Search team, discussing all things digital and shedding some light on how Google Search works sometimes, or how the internet works sometimes. Lots of things. Let's see. Am I alone I'm not alone. Martin. Hello.
Hello, did you almost forget about me? Am I that forgettable to you?
Yes.
Ouch. Wow.
Well, don't ask questions if you're not prepared to be heard by the answers.
Okay, fine. Hello.
Hello. It's been a while I've seen you. Like, less than 24 hours.
Oh, true. Yeah, we've seen each other yesterday. That's true. Yeah.
Do you have anything exciting coming up?
Search Central Lives are coming up. We're visiting
really?
the world once again. Yes.
Where are you going first?
My first one is going to be Brazil.
Oh, please eat some acai for me.
Oh, I will. Oh God, yes.
Thank you.
Oh yes.
I
So good.
very much appreciate that.
It's so good. But I guess you don't want to talk about acai today.
Oh, I could talk about acai. I read so much about acai the past few years. The first time I went to Brazil for a conference, it was an external conference, someone introduced me to acai. I never had that before. And it was basically just from the hotel, like walking one block. I think it was with Pedro Diaz, former Googler now. I think he's developer something, or he has a company where they are developing stuff and also some SEO. Anyway, and he just took me to this very small corner shop. And he was like, you have to try acai. And I'm like, oh, no, leave me alone. No. I mean, no, you have to try it. And then I tried it. And then I kept eating acai. And then I kept eating acai. And then I kept eating acai. On one day, I had like 5 bowls of acai because it was so good. And I kept ordering via room service. And at one point, the room service person was like, yeah, we think you should stop. And I'm like, no, it's like, and the person was like, yeah, it's already like 7 p.m. or something. Like, you should really stop because you're not going to sleep. Then I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to sleep? Like, it's full of not caffeine, but like some other one of those components that just make you not sleep. Great. I haven't slept for 2 days. But you're right. I'm not here to talk about acai today. I had a saga. And you helped me a little bit with that saga. And I thought that we talk about that saga.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I think the sequel stuff we did for Web Almanac.
Well, yeah, but the project was bigger. So to give some background, we received a pull request on the official Robots.txt repository to add 2 new rules/directives to the unsupported tags list. Basically, Search Console would report that it recognizes these tags, but Google doesn't support them. And the pull request was great. Like, it was a very good idea. The person who sent it, well, the username is 3x10 raised to 8. I don't know who that is, but the pull request was great. And it was a good idea. But I don't know about other companies, but at Google, we try to not do things arbitrarily, but rather like collect data and then say that, yes, this makes sense based on the data. And John Mueller, our manager, had this idea that how about we don't just add this one tag, but look through the, let's say, top 10 or top 15 tags and add the ones that we don't have in that list yet. Because that would give us a decent starting point, a decent baseline, and be able to say that, okay, we are documenting the top 10 of these tags that we don't support, right? And fast forward 2 days, I'm struggling finding a public repository of robots.txt files that we could use to identify these tags. And he suggests the HTTP Archive. I have never used the HTTP Archive before, other than looking at the reports that they do. I think it's called the Almanac or something.
Yeah, the Web Almanac.
So I don't know how it works. I don't know where the data lives. I don't know anything about it. In fact, I still don't. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I used to contribute to the SEO chapter
Really?
a few times.
Okay. Wanna teach me how it works?
Okay, yeah, sure. So you know nothing about it, I'm assuming.
I honestly have like literally nothing. Like we did some code for it the past few days, but I don't know how it's used or why it's used. I don't know
Okay.
the data sets. I don't, literally nothing.
Okay. So it has been running for the last, I don't know how many years. It's definitely been around since 2019, it must have been, because I think I was involved in the 2019 edition. And I believe that it has been running before that as well, but I'm not sure about that. But the idea is that you basically look at a large number of websites or web pages, more specifically, and look at how the web changes, or like things that you can learn from looking at large quantities of websites. For instance, what language are they in? Are they mobile friendly? Are they using HTTPS? Are they, I don't know, using canonicals? These kind of things, like all sorts of stuff that you can basically infer from looking at the source code of a website, or from things that you can infer from the behavior of a website. So it has to do a crawl. So it has to basically like know all these things. And then it also has to kind of quote unquote render them. So it has to do some sort of analysis on them to get some additional data. For instance, performance, like how fast is this loading? How do the core web vitals look like? And so on and so forth. You can't get that from just a crawl. You have to actually sort of run the website in a browser to get this kind of data. And these two things can be combined, and then a bunch of people set out every year to ask questions about the big data set of information they have. So that's like two stages. In stage one, they're like, I wonder, I don't know, for instance, I wonder how many words per page there are for all the websites that we will look at. And then they write some script that gets this data from either the crawl, so with words from a page, you probably can get some of that information from a crawl, but if it uses JavaScript, you would have to get that also from the rendered version.
So when you say a crawl, is that what? Like who's crawling what?
Okay, so we start with a bunch of URLs that we know exist. And I believe that these URLs are coming from the Chrome UX report, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So if you opt into it, your Chrome browser sends data to an aggregate report, basically, that says like, hey, here is what we've seen in terms of performance data, for instance, from real users opening this website. It doesn't say like Martin or Gary have seen these numbers, but it basically aggregates it. So on average, across all the people who have visited this website until now, or in the last year, I'm actually not exactly sure how Chrome UX report segments the data. But basically, all these URLs, all these websites have been visited by someone who sends the data into the Chrome UX report. And then you can query the Chrome UX report. So it's a public data set of aggregated user experience metrics for websites.
Interesting.
And in this set are millions of URLs. I believe it's like 16 point something million. That's a huge data set.
Okay.
Historically, that have mostly been homepages. So they kind of filtered it out to only get like homepage data, kind of arguing like, oh, you know, it's probably the more popular part of every website to go to the homepage. Like you go to ebay.com or to amazon.com or to google.com rather than to like google.com/how search works. That is a page on this website, but it's probably not one that we have a lot of data on. So historically, it has been focusing on the homepages. But in the recent couple of years, and I'm not sure when they started this, but at some point, they expanded to what they call secondary pages.
Okay.
So you can kind of say like, oh, we are only interested in homepages, or we are also interested in how do homepages perform or look like compared to quote unquote secondary pages, right?
Okay.
Because usually we have this kind of stuff in the Chrome UX report, and for some websites, they might also be much more popular than the homepage, for instance, and then the homepage gets a bit neglected, and then whatever secondary page you have is more popular, so you put more effort into it. And then they basically run a crawl. I'm not exactly sure how they're crawling it, but they're basically doing a bigger run. I think what they do is they run through WebPageTest. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with WebPageTest?
That's some service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, WebPageTest.org. You can go there, you can type in a URL, and it runs your website in an actual browser. And I believe what they do is they do that. They have like their own instance. They're probably paying for that, I'm not sure, or have some sort of collaboration with WebPageTest.org. And then they put these URLs that they got from the list from URLs, or the list of URLs from Chrome UX report, and they basically run these through a browser instance on a server hosted by WebPageTest.
Okay.
And that's what they do to crawl, I believe.
Cool.
But as you run it in a browser, you get a bunch of information that you don't get if you were basically using curl or wget or whatever on the command line to kind of just download the HTML. Like, for instance, you can tell what amount of CSS has been actually used and how much is unused. You can run a lighthouse test on it. And you can run some JavaScript that you can control. And that's what we wrote. Remember? That's the JavaScript that we created.
Oh, I remember.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes, of course you do, because you love JavaScript so much.
I love JavaScript. So that was also weird to me because I didn't realize that you can use JavaScript for this kind of stuff. But anyway, the way I discovered this whole thing works, well, not how it works, but how the data is stored. I don't know if you can download it or not, but there's also a BigQuery dataset or datasets.
Yes.
And then you can write basically SQL queries to query those datasets.
Yeah, that's the second step. Yeah.
Which can be very harsh on your wallet, as I learned.
That is true, because the data is relatively large, I guess.
I literally remember that Daniel Weisberg, our teammate, he wrote a blog post about how to avoid large charges on BigQuery when you are digging into Search Console data. And when I got the charge, I ran one query, like one large query. And like I got like hundreds of dollars worth of charge for that one particular query. And yes, it was running for quite a while, but still it's like hundreds of dollars for it. So yeah, yay. It happens. And it's an open source project, so yeah, I will just absorb it, I guess, but it was painful. Anyway, what? What mean?
Reminds me of what can a banana cost, Michael? $10?
Oh, yeah.
I love that. This is so good. It's a great show as well. Yeah.
That was a coffee, no? From Mean Girls or something? Anyway.
Arrested Development. It was...
yeah.
Arrested Development, yeah.
Anyway, and we quickly figured out that no one is actually requesting robots.txt files. So the data sets don't typically have robots.txt files in it, which was also very painful because I already paid like hundreds of dollars for that one particular query. It's great. But don't stop laughing.
I'm so sorry.
You're not.
No.
And then more internal discussions, and then we realized that why don't we just put this in the custom metrics dataset, which again is not something that I knew of. If I knew of that thing, then I wouldn't have run that initial query that cost me so much. Do you know about the custom metrics?
Yeah, so step number one is kind of exactly what you then did, the custom metrics bit, where we take the URLs and we run them through WebPageTest. And as WebPageTest says, okay, this page is now done, there's nothing happening anymore in this test browser, you can run some JavaScript on whatever you got. And I believe that there are some URLs in there that are robots.txt URLs, because I think in the SEO chapter there is a robots.txt analysis. I'm not exactly sure how you can filter for robots.txt specifically from all the URLs that we have. But basically, that's step one. Like, you gather these metrics, and they are custom metrics because they're not by default exposed. For instance, if you run a lighthouse test, you have certain things like, I don't know, I think Lighthouse tests for the core Web Vitals. So you can basically say like, hey, from this database that is created from all the things that we run through WebPageTest, I want to see from each of the pages the lighthouse.corewebvitals. I don't know, largest contentful paint. And then you get the numbers. And then you can do things like you can tell like, hey, so what's the average? What's the maximum? What's the minimum? Blah, blah, blah. What's the 90th percentile? You can do these kind of things, but that's not a custom metric because these metrics are kind of like default and you can get them just by running the page through the browser. But then you can run these extra JavaScripts that are looking at the content, and you can do things like, for instance, you can say, hey, give me all the children elements that are in the head. And then later on in the queries part, like you get a list of all the things that are in the head. Let's say like you call it custom.head-invalid-elements or something. And then you can say like, okay, so for all of the things that we have in this database of these head elements, which are ones that don't belong there? Or which is the most likely head element that we are seeing? Or I don't know, what's the char set that people are setting in their meta char set element that they have in the head? And to have any sort of metric that isn't by default available to a browser or Lighthouse or whatever other tools we are running. I think there's another one, Web App Analyzer or something like that, that gives you information like what framework is this been built with, or what content management system is this using. So if it's not in these kind of default tools that are running, then you can add custom code to get out what you need. And that's what you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, we did it.
Okay, fair enough. Like we did, yeah. You wrote the code. I looked at it and cried only a little.
So that's the suggestion that we got from Barry Pollard. So he pointed us to their GitHub repository for custom metrics. And then there we found this weirdo JavaScript function or class, I don't remember what it is. Anyway, that is actually extracting some limited number of rules, but they were hard-coded, right? So basically, it was a no index, a no archive, I don't know, crawl delay, whatever. Basically, just counting those that they knew of already. And we needed the exact opposite. We wanted to learn of all the rules that people are using, not just the ones that we know about. So we twisted it around and we got some really good comments from Barry and some other folk in the GitHub community. And then we started collecting data. I think we submitted it February 3rd or something like that. And then it was merged a bit later. But it was submitted right before the next run. So basically the next crawl, I don't know.
Yeah, the next run basically.
Probably using the wrong terminology, but basically we managed to get in data for the February 1st data set.
Ah, nice. Okay, that's really nice.
Yeah. And then again, go back to BigQuery or wait for the run to complete, go back to BigQuery and then run the query again, get heart attack, and then just use that data. And yeah, that's the story. Do you want to talk about our JavaScript or not?
We can talk about a little bit about the JavaScript because I basically start to remember things, which is, I think, generally good.
Great. So you know what would have helped a lot?
What?
Martin?
What?
If we had a JavaScript parser.
You were less than enthusiastic and interested, and now is like the most important thing. Okay, fine.
No, I told you a bunch of times that there are people who actually need it, and finally it was me who needed it, and I was very disappointed that I didn't have
I'm
it.
so sorry, sweetie.
Are you?
I apologize.
Do you?
Yes, I actually do.
We are going to include a link to that JavaScript function, and I'm going to ping you this so you can also see it because you probably don't have it.
I have it open.
Oh, you do? How did you find it? It's very secret.
No, it's not.
So some discoveries. Basically, what I was trying to do, and then you confirmed that we can do that, is to roughly imitate what the C++ parser is doing. And that is basically going line by line. And then I thought about going character by character, but it doesn't make sense when you are doing this kind of stuff because you are not looking for one specific tag or rule. You are looking for anything that looks like a rule.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I am really, really, really bad at writing regex or regex. So I asked the toaster or the AI chatbot to write me a regex because it is really good at writing regexes for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe there's lots of training data for it. But it came up with this monstrosity of a regex on line 58.
Yeah, that one is scary. I mean, regex in general, difficult, but like this one, geez.
Yeah. And basically just came up with that. I tested it over and over and over again. I actually ran it through a fuzzer. So basically just to try to break it, basically test its limits. And it didn't break, so I was happy with it. And then we are just matching each line that we extracted that starts with something that resembles a key value pair.
Separated by a colon.
Separated by a colon. And then we are just extracting that. And that will produce lots of weird stuff. Like if you look at the distribution, maybe I will put this on LinkedIn or something. Well, maybe not LinkedIn, but what's the new bird thing?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. If you look at the distribution of rules that it extracted, it is, how do I show it to you?
I don't know. Send me a link.
Okay. Where's Martin?
I'm here.
Martin Splitt. Okay, link.
Mortimer.
So if you look at the distribution,
Oh yeah. Ooh.
it's basically an extremely sharp drop-off after the really popular ones. So basically, you can see that like we have the other bucket, which is basically all the lines that had a colon in them or something like that. But after allow and disallow and user agent, the drop is extremely drastic. Like even if you put it in log scale, I have one in log scale as well, because that's showing it better. And also people can extract this from BigQuery as well, from the HTTP Archive.
Yeah, from BigQuery. This is now in the latest crawl data.
It's in the custom records. If you look at this one, you can see that like even on log scale, the drop-off is extremely sharp. So basically, there is a large chunk of robots.txt files that contain these tags. And then there's broken files like johnmoo.com/robots.txt or garyish.com/robots.txt, which contain just fun stuff, so to say.
Actually, there's a bunch of pages that probably don't have a robots.txt and give us some sort of error page here.
Yeah. Like lots of HTML pages with
CSS in it, yeah.
With CSS in it, yeah, exactly. That's why you see all those padding and IMG and
a color with.
Yeah. We can also use this to identify the typos of the disallows. So I'm probably going to expand the typos that we accept.
I just realized we might be able to filter these out in the query, in the custom metric.
Okay, if you have ideas, I'm happy to review it because I'm so good at JavaScript, as you know.
Yeah. I mean, logically speaking, we have to check that we get a 200 status back, so we will avoid all the 404 pages.
Sure.
We can probably tell if its content type is text HTML and then just not deal with it.
Well, if you are strict with it, then it's fine. If you're strict with the parsing, then it's fine to ignore those. But technically, Google does want to parse out rules from normal HTML files as well.
Okay, but we are not doing that if the HTTP status is not 200, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then all these things that it extracted, plus some additional data that was always there, like the size of the raw byte size of the thing being the robots.txt file. Those are put in a JSON file and then basically put in the data set, custom metrics data set. Is it a data set? What is it?
Data set, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. And that's how we expanded our understanding of robots.txt rules with data.
That's really cool. Wow. And I think it's really nice because that might make its way into the SEO chapter for this year's Web Almanac because they just have more information available.
Oh.
Ah, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I think they have, let me check. I think the Web Almanac in the SEO chapter, it's brilliant. I definitely highly recommend reading it. I think they do discuss, here. So Robots.txt is discussed. For instance, the status codes. Like 84.9% of the URLs that they had looked at from the crawl set basically have a 200. 13% have a 404, and then others are weird, like timeouts, 403, 500 are like negligible basically, less than 1% each. Robots.txt size in kilobytes, most of them are between 0 and 100 kilobytes. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, you can put that much stuff in it.
A lot of them contain asterisk as the user agent.
Makes sense.
AdSpot Google is the more often mentioned. Googlebot only appears in 6.2% of the Robots.txt files they looked at, but AdSpot Google in 9.8% last year.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So yeah, they have a bunch of stuff here.
Cool.
Nice. Has been fun, no?
Well, Martin, guess what?
Do you want to talk about something else?
Well, yes, but we cannot.
Oh. So you leave me.
Well, you are leaving me. Quite literally, you are moving to a different country.
Temporarily, I'll be back. You don't have to worry
Will
about
you?
that. Yes.
Will you?
Yes, of course. And we will be back to all of you out there as well with a new episode soon as well.
You are saying my line.
Yeah, because I'm a sweetheart like that, I reduce your work.
Oh, fantastic. Now I don't have to deal with AI anymore. I have to deal with you taking my job.
That's worse. Less predictable, more unstable.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for chatting with me. You are the only one who's still chatting with me. And for the listeners, thank you also for listening to us. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And please do, because if you want to listen to more episodes, then we need numbers.
True.
Because we are a data-driven Martin and Gary. Well, Martin, again, nice chatting with you. Goodbye.
Nice talking to you. Bye-bye.
We've been having fun with these podcast episodes. I hope you, the listener, have found them both entertaining and insightful too. Feel free to drop us a note on LinkedIn or chat with us at one of the next events that we go to if you have any thoughts. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.